Perfect. Okay, so we are going live. We are live. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. We welcome you to our YouTube page. So I don't know why I've got feedback. Going live. We are live. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. We welcome you to our YouTube. So I don't know. Right, that's better. Sorry, we had it also on another channel. So, so today we have the wonderful Jules, who has joined us all the way from Essex in the UK. Jules, I've known for a few years now. She's been an amazing mentor to me within my own spiritual development and things like this. So, Jules, welcome to our YouTube channel.
Thanks, Kerry. Thank you. And we have known each other a really long time. We were just, before we went live, talking about the ages of our children and that they're all growing up. And it's just really, really fantastic that we still have such a lovely contact and relationship. So thank you so much for inviting me on.
Oh, you're so welcome, because Jules, I met you many years ago, and I remember seeing an advert to understand some Buddhism and meditation practices, and you had a beautiful place in Danbury and it was phenomenal. I remember turning up at Danbury and being completely wowed with the scenery, the settings, the temple as well, and it was incredible. And for me, that was my very first steps of understanding Buddhism, and you taught me so much. So whereabouts are you now, Jules? Because I know that you're not in Danbury now, so whereabouts are you?
So I've like my spirituality had an amazing journey, really. So we've been via Wales and we're back in Essex, up towards Clacton, in Thorpe-le-Soken. So yeah, so this is where this space has been created to just, as a little space to invite people in. But I still live stream my classes every week as well, so people can really join from wherever they want.
That's fantastic. And this is the beauty, isn't it, Jules, of the internet, because we can reach out to so many people worldwide now. And with what we do, as yourself with your Buddhism, me with my spirituality and things like this as a medium, we can reach out to people all worldwide and help lots of people to bring healing, and also to help people within their own lives. And I know Buddhism really helped me within my own. But before we actually get talking now, Jules, about actual Buddhism itself, I would love for you to share your journey, because as we know, everyone's journey is so different. So, Jules, would you like to just explain about yourself, your personal journey, and how you got to where you are today?
Sure, of course. So, my earliest memory actually is of being in the garden on a very bright moonlit night as a child. And I decided that I was the moon goddess and I was running around the garden as such. And it's really interesting how we kind of almost come full circle to these things. So I went to a Christian school. It was the village school. That's where I grew up in Mayland, and it was a very Christian school. We did all of the celebrations that you do as a Christian, Christmas and Easter and all the other things with knobs and twirly bits. Then as I moved through into my adolescence, I became very interested in astrology, numerology, other sort of spiritual practices. And my path kind of went along that journey. So I did a bit of that. Then I moved into clairvoyance, mediumship and circle. Then I moved into Wicca. And this kind of was a really amazing step for me into Wicca, because I really felt I'd come home at that point into the earth and nature and the way that nature moves through us and is us. It's this kind of holistic part of who we are. And that connection resonated with me really strongly. And I then moved into the healing practices. So I was Reiki teacher, as well as, other bits and pieces. And all of these things almost seamlessly moved through my life. And then I kind of came to a point in my life where I sort of said, what's next? Where I need to learn more. There's more to this. There's more I don't know. It's always about the not knowing. And you don't know what you don't know until you know something else. So I then had the opportunity to come across this particular branch of Buddhism. Now, I don't know if people know, but Buddhism, like Christianity, like Wicca, like spiritualness, whether you're a medium, clairvoyant, or you have clairsentience or whatever, there are many branches and many ways of doing things. And in Buddhism, there are your kind of more esoteric practices, which is what your mediumship, your tarot, all of that falls under. They're the hidden practices. And then there's your more sort of straightforward teachings around mindfulness and those kind of practices. And the branch of Buddhism that I fell into, walked into, drifted across my path, was an esoteric one, which of course floated my boat. I absolutely felt right at home. It had a healing modality to it. So we did Medicine Buddha, which is very similar to kind of Reiki, but with different elements to it, with mantras and mudras. And that gave me a deeper understanding of healing in general, of karma, of the role of us within ourselves. And it also gave me an opportunity to really start to, pick out different bits that hadn't made sense to me on my journey. So questions that I had that were unanswered from other teachers, other practices, other ways of being. My mum said to me, Jules, how are you going to reconcile Wicca and Buddhism? And I was like, we aren't defined by our practices. I am all of those things. And actually, one of the first esoteric practices I learned with my new teacher was feeding hungry ghosts. Now, coming from a background of, clairvoyance, mediumship, all of that sort of stuff and healing, feeding the ghosts, I was like right at home. Some of my colleagues were like freaked beyond belief. Like, what do you mean we've got to feed the ghosts? Oh, like that. And I'm like, oh no, this is so right. So my connection with nature, my connection with the universe has just expanded. I haven't given anything up. I've just absorbed something new. And so my journey isn't disrespectful to anything else, because actually I just want to understand more and more and more. And like, Shrek says in his lovely film, it's an onion which has many, many layers. And as we peel off the different layers, we kind of get to a point where we begin to, something resonates, and then that layer's done. Okay, it's not that we're chucking it away, we're not throwing the baby out with bathwater, but that has kind of stopped fulfilling our questions, our quest, our need. And so we need something else to sort of, it's almost like, you're at kind of one stage in your life. Do you want to stay there always, or do you want to continuously learn, expand, and just kind of know more and more? And I'm afraid I have a bit of an, unquenchable thirst in that direction, I've discovered about myself.
Absolutely. And that's the beauty of this, isn't it, Jules? It's never ending. It's a never ending journey of our own spirit and our own soul. And there's always more to evolve, isn't there? So how did you find the transition from the Wicca going into Buddhism though? Was that a bit difficult, challenging, or?
I didn't think so. I thought it was completely normal. And actually I still do both, so I am an ordained Buddhist practitioner and teacher. I'm also a Wiccan and a high priestess and can do hand fastings and blessings and things like that, So I can do those under any construct. So as I've grown, what I've realized is it's only our mind that limits us. It's the construct of our frameworks. Say if you're Christian. So I'll give you an example. We go on a kind of community camp every year, and it's full of many different beautiful souls who come together to dance and sing and meditate and do practices and just be in life, you know.
Yeah.
And I had this beautiful lady come to a healing session that I ran, and I called it an esoteric energy healing session. People could come with whatever modality they wanted to, whether it was Rouhani, Reiki, medicine, Buddha, you know, whatever they wanted to bring, and just come and share. It was just a beautiful space. And this lady said to me, well, you know, I did Reiki, but I cannot connect with it. And I was like, why is that? She said, well, this is an Eastern philosophy, and I'm a Christian, and I cannot reconcile bringing the energy down without Jesus. Jesus is my savior and my Lord, and that's how I see life. So it doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And I said, well, what would happen if you envisaged that Jesus was alongside you and with you and channeling that energy through you? Oh, she said, I hadn't thought about that. So we did this session, and we finished the session, and everyone, you know, started to disperse, and she came up to me and she was crying. And I was like, oh my gosh, you know, what's
wow.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
You know, something awful happened. She went, this has been the most beautiful moment of my life, because I now understand my body and my connection to God and Jesus. And does that mean that we should all be Christian? No, that's how it was for her, and it was right for her, but that doesn't make it right for me, and it doesn't make it right. And so what that showed us, or showed me in particular, is there is no right way, there is your way. And if we close our minds to only one way, then we stop the possibility, the doors from opening to our experiences.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's wonderful, to be able to bring it together like that, you know, rather than it having to be in that one space. You know, it's wonderful to be able to bring that together as a collective and combine it all, you know. So we've got messages coming through. That's why I kept looking over here, because I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, we've got questions coming through here.
Oh, crikey.
So we've got a question here, and I feel this is really, someone said, can you explain about hungry ghosts?
Oh, okay.
Because, you know, when I didn't fully understand this myself until I stepped into Buddhism, and I find that fascinating. And then, of course, when I've gone and traveled through Thailand and India and places like this, I see even in the Hinduism, they have like these pujas, and you know, they're all outside, and they have all the rice on there, there's flowers, there's water, there's all these offerings. So of course I understand that now. But Jules, I'd love to hear from yourself, because we've got a few people actually coming on saying, Kerry, can you please ask Jules about the hungry ghosts?
Okay. Gosh, this is a massive subject, so I'm going to really try and streamline it. So let's think about us. Imagine that we are balloons. This is going to sound really random and really weird, but we're a balloon. Okay, so imagine we're a balloon, and inside the balloon is our energy, our light, our darkness. Doesn't matter what it is. It's like, you know, the helium or the oxygen that got blown into the balloon to inflate it is us. It's our soul. It's our creation. It's what's there when we're alive, and it's what's gone when we're dead. Okay, so let's imagine that's the bit in the middle. It doesn't matter what you want to call it. Our ethereal selves is inside the balloon. Now the bit that's on the outside holding us to this reality, that's our karma. That's us. That's our kind of all the stuff we brought with us into this life to resolve, to work through, to atone for, to make amends, whatever it is. Because as much as we all want to be Cleopatra and the Queen of Sheba or whatever, I think that's what my mum used to call me, Queen of Sheba. we generally have a warehouse full of stuff that we've done that actually was unskillful. It wasn't helpful. It might have harmed others or harmed ourselves. And so when we come into this life, we have this kind of little package that's around us, tethering our ethereal body to this reality. And when we die, a bit like when the balloon is pricked, it escapes, it's gone. It's reabsorbed back into whatever your belief system is, but you know, it's gone. And they've weighed the human body. We know that the soul or the ethereal body departs, so we know that. And what you're left with is the vessel. So the balloon is holding us, and that's the karma around us. And when we have worked through the karma for this lifetime, the balloon is kind of deflated and we are departed. However, there are some times when the balloon is deflated or it's pricked suddenly, the energy that we are doesn't quite move on to the next place. It's kind of stuck in between, or there's something tethering it because it's unfinished business, whatever it is. And as I say, this is something I could talk to you for about a year on, so we won't.
I know, we're going to have a catch up soon, Jules.
Whatever that is that's tethering us, it means that these energies are around. And if you think about it, one of the problems I had with living in this country, and one of the reasons I stepped into esoteric Buddhism, is because we have lost in this country all of our teachings.
Yeah.
And if you think about when you go to a wedding, and I've got one coming up soon, so it's very much on my mind, we throw rice, or we used to throw rice. And in the Buddhist practices and the Thai practices and all around the kind of Eastern philosophies practices, you throw rice to the hungry ghosts, you throw food to them to feed them. And you think, we did that in this country. We threw rice at brides and grooms. Why did we do that? Well, we did that to feed and to remove the negative energy around them so they could move into their new life together, free of any kind of baggage. That's why we did it. But we've forgotten. We do it as tradition now with confetti, but that's why we did it originally. And it's exactly the same. So what we're doing is we are acknowledging that there are spirit, if you want to call it that, esoteric kind of ethereal light bodies that can't transition. And so they're around us. And sometimes they can kind of be a bit draining for us, or they're searching for something because they're hungry. They can't move on.
Yeah.
And so by feeding them, we can actually offer them sustenance long enough, especially if you're a practitioner who can then help them a bit more to move on to a better, more comfortable place and transition. They haven't transitioned that in a helpful way for them. That's probably about the best I can describe it in a short time.
Yeah.
So our practices that we learned were a lot of mantras, a lot of ways of calling those energies in. And as you know, Kerry, on a full moon and a new moon, all the Buddhist temples with this lineage, we do a carte blanche of any hungry souls that are still around in our area, bringing them in. You can send them over to me as well. You can kind of just think in your mind, go and see Jules, you know, go on, get over there, she'll help you. We feed them, but we also help them to think about how they can move into their next part of their journey.
So that's another thing as well, Jules, that, you know, I find really interesting is that you do these ceremonies on the full moon and things. So you use all the elements of nature as well within this.
Oh, it's nature is nature. Nature is us. Nature is life. And so you can see why my Wicca kind of background is so important. I mean, do you remember when we had the temple in Malden? People say, oh, that's the witch's cottage in the woods. You know, it's like this little, and this isn't that different. This is a hut with ivy growing over it. You know, I am who I am.
Yeah.
But when we don't have the teachings in a particular area, we have to look for other teachings. But I think the reason that Buddhism gave me more than just these practices, because you can kind of get these out of books, you can, you know, was that sort of sense of people are so unhappy, Kerry, aren't they, in the world?
Absolutely. It's
And
hard,
yet,
isn't it?
and yet we are the most privileged society that we have ever been, ever. I mean, you know, we have electricity, we have food, most of us. I know sometimes there are people, and I'm talking about general public, I'm not, so, you know, there are seriously people that are very unwell or have had, you know, a terrible loss and they don't have these things. But generally, we have food, we have electricity, we have a bed, we have a bath, we have showers, we, you know, we have 200 horses under our bonnets, you know, we have everything we need. And yet, the more we have, the less happy we are as a society as a whole.
Yeah.
People are buying bigger tellies. You know, I walk past some people's sort of houses and they've got the windows open. These are, you know, curtains are gone, aren't they? Because everyone wants to show you their telly. That's the size of the wall. Well, really? Do I want to spend my entire life looking at something that's the size of my wall? I could have just sat and done some zazen, which is a practice where you literally look at a point on the wall. So I can't, you know, and you know my background, Kerry, I work with people who have emotional and psychological problems, have done all my life. So as a sort of psychiatric nurse working in the CAM service, and I'm now working in palliative care with children, you know, that's my other passion, isn't it? Working with people, helping them to understand. And I was like, I need more tools, and I need to also understand myself and understand my own emotional states and what happens there. So I think, you know, part of my draw into Buddhism and then becoming a teacher within this sort of genre, if you like, was because I really wanted to understand humans thinking, capacity for love, capacity for compassion, capacity for doing bad things, you know, when you're upset, saying things you don't mean, all of that. I really wanted to get it. I really wanted to understand it, you know, and what I really got from my journey in the last 10 years has been everything arises in us.
Yeah.
Louise Hay said about 15 years ago, you are the only thinker in your head. But I didn't understand what that meant. I did understand it at one level, but now I really get it. Because as soon as you say, you made me angry, you made me happy, you make me laugh, you make me, you're giving away your autonomy, you're giving away yourself, you're becoming a slave to your environment. And so the more I kind of understood and got into that, the more I really wanted to help people, whoever was interested in getting that. The problem comes though when people don't want to give it up. Secretly, many of us complain about the things that we're addicted to, whether that's some other form of pleasure like alcohol, sex, drugs, going out, spending money, eating, whatever that is. People are addicted to pleasure, and they're addicted to pleasure because they can't find the happiness within themselves. So they're looking all the time for the external, a new car, a pair of shoes. I mean, I love shopping next to the next person, don't get me wrong, but it's something about that addiction to it. It's making you happy. It's making me happy. And our children are learning that it was so-and-so's fault. Oh, let's sue this person because there was a hole in the road. There was this, there was that, there was the other.
Yeah.
So our whole society is geared up for us to go along with consumerism because it will make you happy. All the adverts. Look at every advert you get to see, which I know we don't much anymore because it's all fast forwarded, but it's all about what can they sell you to make you happy. New shoes, chocolate, sweets, alcohol, a new facelift, whatever. And I just, that's the biggest part, I think, of my passion around the teachings of Buddhism, is that it's a framework. That's all. It's a framework to help you navigate to a new way of thinking. So I've got time for a little small thing. Okay, so this is a Buddhist story, but it could equally be a Christian one or a Jewish one. It doesn't really matter. So there was a man or a woman or a non-binary, whatever, walking down the road. There was a being walking down the road, and there was this huge explosion, and they found themselves in a hole. Okay, so there they are in this hole. They are furious. Who's put me in this hole? It's a bloody horror, really shouting and screaming. And they were there for days, because people walking past, they were like, oh my gosh, you know, we're not helping him out the hole. He's really mad. She's really mad, whoever, really mad down the hole. So eventually this being finds its way out of the hole, and it walks along, off it goes. The next day, the same being walks down the road, falls in the hole again. Furious, shouting, screaming, but took maybe 2 days instead of 3 to get out of the hole. Walks down the road again, falls in the hole, screaming, angry. This is someone's fault. Someone's going to pay for this. But did take maybe 1 day to remember how to climb out of the hole. The next day, the same being walks down the road, sees the hole, still falls in the hole, but then says, I've been here before, haven't I? And every time I fall in this hole, I work my way out, but it usually involves me screaming and shouting and being really upset. It doesn't impact on anyone else because it's just me in this hole. I'll just climb back out again today, shall I? So climbs back out the hole. The next day, they walk down the road and they walk round the hole. But that's not the punchline, because sometime after, they just walk down a different road.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
So it's a sense that we can't necessarily change overnight, but that's mainly because of our grasping to our well-worn path. We have the same thinking patterns. They did some research and they reckon that we think 80% of our thinking, or even more than that, is exactly the same as yesterday. Wow. So we think the same thoughts over and over again. And of course, if you want to do something different, you've got to behave and think differently. You can't expect the same results, different results from the same thinking and
same actions. Yeah, absolutely. And that's massive, isn't it? For people to really look at and to learn by. And it takes that change. And sometimes, sometimes change can be challenging for people and sometimes it can be hard. But I always look at change as growth. And, it's about stepping into and leveling up again. But that's wonderful. I absolutely love that interpretation and that story there, because that's quite home hitting, really, because it is about changing the direction of that pathway, of that road, and taking a new turning. And I feel here with spirituality, with Buddhism, with anything like this, with that belief, we have that power within each of us to be able to do that. And as you were saying earlier, Jules, as well, about when we tend to blame other people. Oh, you've made me angry. You've done this. Well, stop. Do I have to react? Do I have to take that on board? I'm the owner of my own happiness. And
it's hard, isn't it? Because people say, well, what happens when someone comes up and pokes me in the eye? They've made me, they've hurt me. And of course, people can physically hurt us, but how we choose to respond is still our choice. That is the joy and the gift of being a human being, is that in any moment we can decide how we think. And that is something that most other animals, creatures, sentient life on this planet cannot do. They cannot make a decision to be angry or not be angry. And people often challenge me, and there's a couple of things that I can say to sort of help with the understanding of it. So I say, okay, we've got one of these massive tellies, right, on the wall in front of us. There it is. And you put boxing on because boxing is your favorite thing. Now, my family love boxing, not me. I'm not a keen person watching someone pulverize someone else. Not a problem. You want to watch it, I don't, but I'm stuck there with you with this on the screen. Now, is it the television's fault that that feeling arises in me? Is it the person who put the boxings on fault that that feeling arises in me? Or is it me that the feeling has arisen in? So therefore it's my thoughts about, oh, I don't like this, that bring up those feelings of, oh, I want that turned off.
Yeah.
So it's not the television's fault. It's not the person's next to me fault. It's and it's not really a fault. It's just nature. Yeah. I am a complex, amazing human computer, and I've been programmed in a certain way. And so when something comes along to press one of the buttons, like, oh, I don't know, I see a really lovely ice cream shop and it's got all the flavors in it. And I'm like, oh, that's nice. Well, there are people that would walk past and not like ice cream. Oh, no, I don't like ice cream. But it's not the ice cream's fault that you like or don't like the ice cream. Yeah, it's you, it's how you are. And so, in a sense, our programming has to be changed. Otherwise, we walk down the same neural net pathway every time we do our thinking. And that's why meditation of any form, whether it's Tai Chi, whether it's mindfulness, whether it's an esoteric mudra mantra visualization, whether it's a goddess meditation, all of these things can help you learn to sit with what is uncomfortable. So a lot of people say, well, I can't meditate, but it's because when they sit down, they feel uncomfortable. They feel uncomfortable, these thoughts come in their mind, or these feelings, sensations, and then the reaction that we have, physical reaction we have, is we want to get up and move on, or our mind goes off into thinking about the shopping list or what we've got to do next. And that's perfectly normal. Yeah. Meditation is not about emptying your head and thinking of nothing. Meditation is there to support you to learn to know yourself, to know and understand your feelings that arise, and then to almost embrace them like a small child that's upset, and hold them and care about them and nurture them to a point where they stop distressing you and you can sit alongside them. And then the final sort of step is to let go and allow that, whatever it is, that anger, that upset, somebody's kind of done something unskillful towards you, to let those feelings go. But first you have to really hold them. You have to really understand them, have empathy for them, compassion for them, compassion for you in those moments. And then we can allow them to sort of dissipate, just dissipate by themselves. That bit's almost the easy bit, but it's the bit that we find most difficult. I work with a lot of people who sadly lost their children. Their children have died. And there's a point where we come to in therapy where they say, actually, I've realized I don't want to let this pain go. Because when I let the pain go, will I forget my child? Will I forget my feelings for my child? And what we have to do is we kind of work together to think about how we can remember the child in their life without the pain. But sometimes we actually want to hold on to the pain. We feel righteous. That person wronged me and I have a right to be angry about it. So, you know, we hold on to all of these things. Yeah. And that's the bit that meditation or a calm space can help with. Sometimes though, people want help with that. They want a teacher. They want to come to a class. They're finding it difficult to do on their own, listening to a YouTube video. And I get that because I've always had that help and support for myself, you know, by other teachers and beautiful souls around me, helping me on my journey. And so for me, there's a sense that we have these structures, these classes, or these frameworks, whether it's the esoteric stuff, whether it's Western Buddhism, whether it's Tai Chi, whether it's Reiki, whatever it is, that just help us to kind of navigate. You know, it's a bit like going out in the world and you want to go somewhere, you don't know where you want to go, and you haven't got a map or a sat nav or a car, and you're like, well, I feel a bit stuck with this. So for me, having a teacher of some kind is a bit like that. You've got a bit of a sat nav, you've got a bit of a route map, you've got a bit of a kind of guide, but that does not mean that it's the only answer. You have to find your own truth, your own way, but the teacher's there just to help you kind of navigate it a bit more gently, and maybe a bit more quickly, but that's really dependent on you and how much you want to let go. So.
Absolutely. And I'm pleased you touched upon the meditation side of things, and also about people holding on to their pain, because that's quite a big thing that I find as well within my work, Jules, as a medium, you know. And being able to work through that as a parent can really help bring a more of a healing aspect to that, you know. So Jules, where can people find you, if you don't mind me asking?
Okay. Of course I don't mind. Because they can find me.
What you do, I believe, is amazing, as always. And you know, with your help and guidance, you can help parents that have and are going through this as well, and also for people that are interested also in Buddhism. So how can people find you, Jules?
So people can find me, the best way to find me is through the new website. It's a new sparkly website. I'm quite proud of it myself, even though I didn't really build all of it. My lovely friend Mary from Ireland helped design and helped me to put it all together. So the website is the Shambhala, which is spelled Jambhala, and then there's a hyphen across the middle, center.co.uk. Now you don't need an @ sign. It's just put Shambhala center. I think it should just come up.
Yeah, perfect. I've put that on the live chat within the YouTube as well. And I also would like to, there's another question on here as well. Someone's actually asked, what is the benefit of a mudra and a mantra?
Oh, nice questions.
Yeah.
So mudras and mantras. So mudras and mantras have been used for thousands of years. And as you know, we are energy. You know, we're like these little batteries, we're energy. And that's been very well researched. Science is starting to catch up now with everything we know. And when I meditated at one point, it happened to be at High Garrett, where you're talking about there, Danbury. We'd been doing a Dharma rite. There was a lot of very concentrated energy in the room. And I was just meditating, doing one of my practices. And all of a sudden, I could see in my mind's eye, but I could literally see outside of me, every person sitting around me, and every light cord and every light point in their body. I mean, that blew my head off, actually. Not as much as it did when I went to LA to see my teacher, and he opened this huge 4,000-year scroll, and it was the picture that I'd kind of had in my head. Anyway, that's another story. So I could see all these light points coming from us, and all, you know, what people call as chakra points, doesn't really matter. Light points, chakra points, there are many of them in our body, and the energy moves around us. And if you know about Feng Shui or any of the practices that we have, the Taoists use it a lot, the Tai Chi people use it a lot. It's all about the flow of energy. And when we're doing healing, we often think about the energy points coming from here, but actually we're exuding light energy from all of us. And we have energy channels, meridians around our body. And so how we hold ourselves, how we move, how we focus the energy is really important. So a mudra is simply a way of containing the energy and moving it into a certain direction. That's why Tai Chi is so beautiful, because if you really get that, when you're moving the energy around yourself and through yourself. So when we're meditating, we can use a particular mudra to enhance our practice. That's all. It just enhances. It doesn't matter if you don't do it. It enhances it. We're kind of adding another layer to that onion, or taking a layer off. So we could sit, for example, the one which many Buddhist statues have is the Earth My Witness. So the one hand on the knee pointing down, and the other hand sort of cupped in front of the body. And for me, when I've meditated in that state, for me, what I get is a kind of connection with divine. It's not really up, but in my head, there's this sense of that middle vein, that kind of light flowing through me down into this chakra point, into this hand. And then this hand on my knee is kind of channeling back out and down. So it becomes like the loop, like the continuous circle, and you've got this wave. There's another one called 10 Directions Every Buddha, and that's more of a cup. You see that on some of the Buddha statues in the garden centres, so the two hands flat, and you think, oh, that's nice, it's a place for the birds to land and have a drink of water. But actually that's 10 directions. So it's all the directions. You're calling in all the energy. In Buddhism, they say all the Buddhas. In Wicca, they would say all the north, south, east, west, or, fire, air, water, earth, all coming in, all directions coming in into the body. So you're getting a kind of more concentrated sense. So each of the mudras represents some kind of connection to your meridians. That's a very simple way of putting it. And then mantras are very similar. So sound is there. When I did Reiki, my teacher taught the Kotodharmas, which are the Japanese sounds. And when we did the Kotodharmas, I could feel that resonating through my body. When you chant, when you sing along with friends, there's an energy that kind of comes with that. So the mantras are a way of connecting to a particular vibration, and they're kind of associated with the different Buddhas or with a particular type of something. So medicine Buddha, mantra, and all the derivatives of it are associated with healing. So you would use it to really help focus your mind and stream that energy in a very powerful way. So for me, mudras and mantras are part and parcel with what I've always done. Funnily enough, it's just I do a bit more now. But you don't need them to meditate. So it's just whatever rocks your world.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so interesting. It really is, because, today we've only been able to literally scratch a little bit the surface, I know, of Buddhism, and your experience and how you got there, and, some of the tools within that space. But unfortunately, we have come to the end of time. Where does time go, Jules?
Oh, I told you I can talk the hind legs off of
I could talk to you for hours about, past lives, karma and things. Oh my gosh, yeah, absolutely. But guys, if you would love to connect with Jules, okay, please go to her website, and it is shambhala-center.co.uk. Jules,
we're also friends on Facebook, aren't we? Facebook, so people can find me. So I'm Jules Twylith Teg, which means fairy in Welsh.
I didn't know that. I didn't know the meaning of that. Perfect. So you can find Jules easy on Facebook, and I will be putting links up on my Facebook group as well, and I'll also be linking the YouTube and Facebook together, so you can easily find Jules as well. But Jules, we would love to have you come back on again for another interview at a later date, if that's okay.
Sure.
Because it's just, I know that there's a lot of people out there that is so interested in this, and it's important for each and every one of us as spiritual beings to reach out and help show people and help guide, just give people different options and pathways within their lives. So
And
thank you,
Kerry. Thank you for sharing and opening this out to so many people. So all love and all blessings to everybody, and from my heart to yours. Thank you.
Oh, bless you. Thank you so much, Jules. Thank you to everyone who's been watching this today. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, because we have an array of different people coming on talking about an array of different topics. So we will be having Jules back on again soon. So thank you to everyone who's joined us today, and thank you for your questions. See you later.